Okay, man. So I'm just letting you know I'm like a tad sick, so you're not gonna get abused. I just wanted
Oh, that's good to know.
to let you know ahead of time.
Banana slam jam.
Why are you here, sir?
All right, why am I here? Um, so I started like at 300 mmR, the
Okay.
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I started working with a coach. It's great. Now at like 1.8 k,
Okay.
and, and I've started working with the other Titan, yeah, obsessive wave. And I'm doing fine, I think, but not as good as I would love to. So basically, I like another point of view.
Yeah, are you relatively new to Dota, or did you like kind of just start trying to take it to a point where you're getting better, or like what's the deal?
Eh, yeah, more of that. Like I started multiplayer Dota just recently. Yeah,
Okay, so you are very new to multiplayer Dota. Were you playing like a lot
exactly. Yeah.
of bot matches, or what were you doing?
Oh yeah, I've been playing with bots for since like 2012 or so.
Oh, I see. So you actually played a lot. You've been playing Dota a long time. You just haven't played the multiplayer part of
Just not with human
it.
beings. Yeah.
So you were incredibly casual about Dota.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's unique. I'm not gonna lie. You don't hear that very often about Dota players being quote unquote casual. So, um, okay. So that's fascinating. This is a first for me. So
Alright.
so let me ask. Do you have like a few replays in mind about
Oh
what you're?
yeah,
Okay.
I've made him today. Like I think it's better we look at the one where I lost.
Okay. We'll usually
I
have
don't know.
time for like one or two. Usually it depends kind
Uh,
of like on how much you want to
uh,
talk about the game itself or anything else. So
uh, Actually, I think if we could start with items without actually looking at replays.
sure, man. Like if you have any overall questions, like that doesn't have to do with the replay, you're welcome to ask those.
Yeah, definitely. So there is this guy Justice. I don't know if he's famous or not, but I just sent you in the Discord.
Okay.
Um, did I? Or
Yeah,
did I
you
not?
sent it. I got his
Yeah.
Dota. I got the Dota buff for him.
All right. So basically, I'm copying his items more or less.
Is this
Could
like a
say.
friend of yours or is this like a high ranked
No,
dude?
it's a random person I found through this website.
Oh yeah, I see. He's ranked like 900 immortal. Okay. So what's the question? Is Elder Titan like one of your favorite heroes? Because this is all I see is him playing Elder Titan.
Y- Yeah, yeah, that's what I put here. Yeah, I'm playing it a lot.
Okay.
Um, so basically, what I take from him is that I should use bracers. Like I use usually double bracers,
Okay.
and then it's either phase boots or trunk.
Yeah, it probably
And
depends on what
after that,
position he was, but go ahead.
I would go with Vladimir and a utility of some sort. Like a glimmer cape or a force staff or use scepter.
Okay.
That's basically it.
So, what are you asking if those items are okay?
Yeah, basically, because it's a rules that I'm defining for myself what I should use based on that list. So
My
I'm
question
trying
is, are you
to.
only playing really one hero? Are you playing, a couple heroes? What are you? When you
Well,
climbed 1500, what did it look like?
well, I got to 1500 with Vengeful Spirit,
Okay.
well, basically with Disruptor, then with Vengeful Spirit, and now with Elder. Like every time I walk, certain basically.
Okay. So you're purely a support player. I'm confirming.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Um, yeah. So when it comes to items, I'd say your bracket, like, we can kind of have a conceptual talk about what each item does for you. In like every patch, it kind of changes. What doesn't change is Vlad's will always be a mana regen, lifesteal, sustain item. But every patch it'll be a bit different on how good that item is. So like the better the item is, obviously, the more likely you are to buy it. Even something like bracers. they've been getting nerfed a lot. So um, even though you probably still want to consider buying a bracer or two, as bracer continues to get nerfed, maybe this build by maybe a month or two from now would change because since now and then between now and then there might be different item builds that are popular. But the idea is like when people build bracers, on strength heroes, they're just trying to make it so like that critical threshold of being killable is not reached. They think, okay, if I were to get initiated onto to start a fight or to start a gank, if I have two bracers, I can probably play more aggressively than I would be able to if I didn't have two bracers because the amount of damage it takes to bring me down. I'm allowed to be a little bit more out of position. I'm allowed to have three heroes gank me instead of two, something like that. Is why
Right.
they buy this item, right? So every item at your level, I think, if you're wanting to think about items, is like, I think it's healthy to kind of have a general sense of why people buy these items. So if you're gonna buy the item, you don't have to execute perfectly by any means, but you're also like not just copy pasting whatever the guy's building without really understanding at least slightly why he's building that
Well,
item.
well, I took one concept from one of your videos where you said to the guy, well, look at the next 2 minutes of the game and what would be best for you.
Yeah, like what are
Is
you planning on doing exactly? Like a lot of times, like if I am laning and I think I need to trade with a guy a lot more, and I'm like a carry, I'll buy a couple wraith bands because I think I need those wraith bands to trade with the guy. But I know if I'm gonna leave the lane, say I'm a PL, maybe I only go one wraith band because I would rather get a faster Yasha or a faster Diffusal. And I know I'm not contesting lane as long, and I know that's why I would have bought the wraith band in the first place. So once you start playing Dota enough, like and you get in the habit of buying these items, there may just be games where you buy double bracer and you may think to yourself, I bought this bracer to make sure I'm tanky enough, and I never even came close to dying. And you'll be like, oh, maybe I could have gotten away with going one bracer instead of two. So it's like sometimes I'll buy two wraith bands, and then the opponent laner, because I've already won the lane, just leaves, and I'm like, well, I definitely didn't need two wraith bands to fight somebody who's not there. I didn't.
yeah, right.
So I'll look back on that and be like, okay, why did I go into a game where I didn't need this item? So when you're like a support, it's almost even more impactful what you do with your gold because you have less of it, right? So when I look at these like small utility items, the Vlads, drums, glimmer, force staff, it's usually very important towards your impact in the game from the support role if you build that one or two small items correctly because that's the only items you're getting. So
Right.
it comes down to I would say what I think of in terms of items and role in the game is you have carry at the one, and you have all the way down to support at the five. The higher your number is, so if you're like a support, the more you kind of have to consider your teammates before yourself. So like as a carry, I will always buy the item that best suits me, like being stronger in the game. But as a five, I usually would or a four, I would usually consider if my teammates need something from me first. I
Right,
go ahead.
but in that sense, like let's say I'm going Vlad, right?
Yeah,
I have to be at a certain distance for my teammate,
yeah.
and if I'm getting to that distance, I better have some buffer of,
Oh, that's
you
true. I
know,
mean, like to be fair though, the Vlad's radius and other aura items are pretty large. It's almost like half the screen, so it's pretty.
right, yeah, it's
It is
pretty
pretty
large.
large now. But at the same time, what I was gonna say though is that no matter what items you have, if you're just dead all the time because your items don't help protect you, then you're already not helping your teammates, right? So what I
Right.
usually think to myself as a support is first and foremost, what's going to make it so I'm not just food? I'm not just going to die over and over again. And if I don't need an item like that, meaning I'm not just going to feed relentlessly based on the heroes they have or whatever, then That's like my number one checkbox. Like, am I going to feed relentlessly? Okay, no. Okay, now worry about my teammates and then come back to me. You know, that's kind of how I'll think about it. And sometimes though, say you're like a Rubik support or something, and you look at your teammates and you realize there's no initiation. The item that you're building for your team might be a blink dagger. You know, like it might be something that would otherwise be considered kind of a selfish item, but you're doing it because nobody else on your team can start the fights and you need to do that for your team. So it's kind of like, go ahead.
That's a pretty extreme example, right? Like
Yeah.
Rubik with Okay, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. Go ahead. So do you have the replay analysis or not the replay analysis, the replay
I'll
ID
replay.
for me to
Yeah,
go through?
sure.
Okay.
So let's go. About that. That's my latest loss.
Okay.
Basically we had the game until the 30 minutes or so, and then
So
then when we're
you're the Elder Titan here. Okay.
yeah.
So just to be clear, I don't know how many of my coaching sessions you've watched, but generally the lower the MMR I go for the session. So if it's around 2K, it's just more fundamental stuff that I'm going to try to make it. I will talk about some specific stuff to this game, but that's more so as an example, you know, more rather than me really focusing on this game specifically. I'll give you the reason why I came to a conclusion I did, but I'm trying to help you make. I like to think of Dota as asking myself a lot of questions. You know, when I start the laning stage, what items do I need to start the laning stage? And like, how do I ask myself the right questions so that I buy the right items? And like, you know, thinking about my matchup or thinking about my job in the lane, whatever. I asked myself, like, I got in the habit of asking myself this series of questions that make sure I don't just do something stupid. Because a lot of times in Dota, even in my bracket, when people just look really stupid or they're doing something wrong, it's because they didn't think about it or they didn't know. That's like usually the two major causes of people being really questionable with their decisions. So I'm gonna go ahead and
You're
share.
gonna see me doing that a lot.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna tell you is that's how I kind of coach. I'm giving you Dota in Discord. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm gonna say is that I can usually tell what people don't think about or what they don't know based on what I'm seeing them do, right? So when I watch your games here, I'm going to try to approach what you're doing wrong fundamentally. Like how can I prevent you from doing that ever again, rather than how can I prevent you from doing it in this specific game. That's how I'm thinking about it. So it looks like you're a 5 position Elder Titan. No real surprise here that you have a safe lane sniper. We don't see these in my bracket, by the way. They're a mythical creature that we have never heard of in the high tiers of MMR.
Yeah, this is a pure coincidence. I've watched another session of yours with a similar setup
Okay.
where you were making fun of the safe lanes.
The safe lane. Yes, I've had the privilege of coaching sessions of supports where they have a safe lane sniper. I'm like, go ahead.
But this is not intentional. It is literally from today.
Yeah. It's fine. All I want you, the first step as a support, and I'm gonna ask you this right now, is I want you to think about what kind of carry you're supporting or offlaner, depending on like what support role you're playing. So if you could give me your best brief description, like what are some weaknesses of Sniper?
All right, he's very fragile and pretty slow, not mobile.
Okay.
He can't escape basically.
And what about like last hitting damage? How's he in that department?
Oh, wish I could click on him now. I guess he's pretty weak at the early game.
Yeah, he is. He's got 47 damage, right? So, like, you already named the main one, which is that he's very fragile and he's slow. But I also think to myself that he has very low damage. So, like, right away as a support, I'm like, when I talked about items, you know, I'm telling myself I need to buy items that make my teammates stronger. when I'm playing the lane, I need to do things that make my teammates stronger or like supplement their weaknesses. So on sniper, as my carry, it's the same thing as like a drow, anything that I would actually see in my bracket, where I just have to play in front of her. I have to make sure, or him, I have to make sure that I'm protecting him from getting ran at, and I have to make sure that if he's trying to get a CS or if he's trying to get denies, I'm potentially helping him do that, because he's got really low damage and he's going to be laning against one or two people.
Right, that was going to be my question about pulling, because I can't leave this guy alone.
Absolutely. So I'll show you specifically the way pulling works. Obviously, like you said, you do need to. Okay, here's a great example. So first and foremost, when it comes to pulling, you do need to be able to leave your carry alone to do it. Every carry's a bit different. Like if I'm like a Faceless Void or a PL, some hero with a survivability mechanic, I'm much more willing for you to pull and leave me because I can get away if they try to harass me or whatever, or dive me.
Right.
But if I'm like a sniper, well, I'm never going to be a sniper, but if I'm something like a sniper, then I want you to maybe communicate you're going to pull, so I might play more passively, or I might need you to play the lane more with me. So when I get into this game here, if you're wondering about, do I pull for support for carries like this, I'll come to the moments where you could pull and talk about questions you can ask yourself to make sure you don't screw this guy over, kind of thing. So when I talk about the lane, right, and I talk about what kind of hero you have with you, the same thing applies for the rune fight. Maybe this guy shouldn't be going for the rune. That's like a debate in and of itself, whether or not this guy should go for the rune. But I told you, since he's kind of this squishy, slow hero that you identified yourself, which is true, that you should be playing in front of him. So, and the same thing applies here. So if he's going to go for the rune, you should be in front of him, between him and the opponent, right? So I don't think...
But if he's doing something really stupid like that, should I...
My thing is, I don't know what else to say. I know in your bracket it can be pretty questionable sometimes, but if your sniper is going to run out there and he's going to go for the rune, I would probably rather you take 100 damage or 200 damage than him. Like I would rather that be the case. Because if he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. Yeah, go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I totally get it. But the thing is, if I step in, he's gonna even dive deeper. So my line of thinking is, I'm gonna stay back, and he realize that it's stupid.
Okay, well, what I'm going to say is my general philosophy would be ask myself what I should be doing in relativity to him, but there are going to be times where they just do some stupid shit and you can't do anything about it. And I don't want you to change what you're doing with the concern that he's going to do stupid shit. Like, meaning you're scared of being in front of him because you think you're going to make him play even more aggressive, which I can understand why he might do that. But I don't want you to then not play in front of him, because that is what you're supposed to do, right? Like, sometimes you can play in front of him and tell him back off or something, and if he just walks in and feeds, so be it. Like, you can't do anything about it. But I don't want you to be scared of making him be confident, because what if you are supposed to run at these guys? Like, what if he's correct? What if you don't know your hero as well as this guy? I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying, what if? So, like, as long as you're doing your job in relativity to his hero, if you think it's bad what's going on and it ends up being bad, hey, you got reassured that, like, or like you have been confirmed that your understanding of the situation is correct. But what if you, like, there's plenty of times in my games where I'm scared. I'm like, oh shit, like, why am I, like, I know I'm supposed to be in front of this guy. Why am I, like, what is he making me do? And then suddenly we get 3 kills. And I'm like, oh, that works. I didn't realize that, but I knew I was supposed to play in front of him in the first place. So I just want you to have a general idea of what you're supposed to be doing in relativity to him, and really trying to stick to it. And it's not easy, right? Like you said, there are things where your teammates just do some weird freaking shit in this bracket. I've seen it. I've coached plenty of people where that's the case. And imagine if you were hitting this Legion maybe just a bit sooner and you got a little bit better trade from it. Like, you might have even, like, killed this guy, for instance. We never really know. And, like, maybe this sniper was correct to walk out there. I'm not saying he was, but you know, if you just let him walk out there and take a bunch of damage, that's not better than giving the benefit of the doubt that he might be right. I would rather do the wrong thing together than the right thing and ignore my carry, because you are a support at the end of the day, and it's your job to make sure that he's not just relentlessly feeding in the laning stage. Let's see what's happening here. So you're gonna, so far so good. I'd say a lot of times. Go ahead.
Like I can barely see, like only when you pause.
Oh, okay. Only when I go ahead and pull up my stream then. I apologize. Depends sometimes on the connectivity. I've had people that tell me the quality is really good. I've had people tell me it's really bad.
In your stream, it's in the delay, right?
It's like 4 or 5 seconds delay.
You know what? I'll stay in Discord. I will do my best.
Okay. I'll make sure I play it at 1 time speed. It gets bad when I fast forward a bit. But yeah, feel free if it's really that bad at any point to pull up the stream. It's 4 or 5 second delay. I know how to make sure it isn't really bad for you.
I mean, probably if there is something really important, you'll pause.
Yeah, I will pause. Yeah. So in general, you're doing a good job so far. Like you're doing better than anyone in your bracket I would expect. In terms of lane supporting. It's not perfect, but you're running at the sniper, you're running at the silencer, you're tanking a lot of damage for your safe laner. And now this is a perfect example where, since he's low damage and you just spirited and hit this silencer here, that I would have backed off and denied this creep right here. I would have I would have helped him deny this creep. It seems like a small thing, but since I told you going into the laning stage that he has a low base damage, that it can help you go for denies, like that's something that you can do to help him. Like if I'm a really high base damage carry and there's a range creep like this, I'm not gonna need you to, make sure it gets denied. But with a hero like Sniper, it would help me a lot if you go for the deny. So that's one thing to think about. And then also, what was I was gonna say something. Okay, I'll make sure I remember moving forward. But so far so good. I sometimes when I see your bracket, people kind of just wander aimlessly. You are already ahead of that game, so you're flying yourself some more regen. So this is a situation where I talked to you about how you can't really pull that much with a hero like Sniper. But the reason why you can't pull with a hero like Sniper is that he's in danger, right? You're afraid if you leave him alone, he's just going to die. And the fact is, on every hero, how fragile they are is just different, but it's something you should consider. Right here, your Sniper is actually just sitting under tower farming. And I think this would be a great time to pull, because what's happening here is you have to run at the silencer, right? That's what you're doing. You have to run at him, and in the midst of you running at him, you take like 2 or 3 right clicks from the Legion Commander. You get cursed, and you take maybe 200 damage on your way to getting to the silencer. So the best thing you can do in this case is make it so the silencer has to come to you, which is done by pulling, right? So in this case, since your Sniper is underneath his own tower, he briefly does not need you. If you go pull the small camp, maybe at that point, because he's a Sniper, rather than farming the pull camp, you can actually just come back to lane and fight with him while the camp is getting pulled, right? You could just do that. And so it's like, and you
would suggest doing that at the 45 mark?
I'm saying that in the early game, I'll do whatever it takes to get a slight experience advantage. Like like it's not ideal to pull at 45. If you're asking, maybe you've seen the coaching sessions where I talk about it. Yeah. But if this early in the lane, if I can deny 2 creeps by pulling, and that makes my Sniper end up hitting level 3 before the Legion does, that kind of stuff, that can be a big deal. Like that can add up a lot. So there's like a lot of lanes where as a carry, I would care about the lane equilibrium, but meaning I don't want it to push out because I want to be safe. But I know if I don't try to harass or use abilities that are going to push the wave, that I'm just going to lose the lane, because I'll just not be able to trade or harass the guy. So I'll sacrifice lane equilibrium in order to trade with the guy. So it's like, even though it's not ideal to pull at 45, I will do it if I think, I can get 2 creeps denied here. And I'm recognizing, okay, I know the only reason I don't want to pull is because I'm scared of leaving my carry alone. He's chilling under tower. Notice how you're kind of just sitting here throwing out a spirit. If I ask myself, if I could be doing what I'm doing while pulling creeps, why not just pull creeps, right? Like that's how I look at it. So this is a great example where you're like kind of just chilling here. There's not much else you can do. I don't think that, you want to be a bit careful on using all your regen, but now you are running at this guy. Like, what I would have even considered was that you pulled this camp right here, and then you ran at this guy, right? Like, you could do the exact same thing you're doing right now after you pulled the camp. And what that does is, if you pull the camp, that's like saying, hey, if they're going to fight me, they're losing creeps in the meantime, right? Like, right now, you're just trading with him, which is fine. But imagine if you're trading with him, and the whole time he's choosing to trade with you, he's just missing.
It's an even better.
Yeah, it's even better, right? And what I try to do in lanes is create a situation where the other guy has to deal with something, so that instead of dealing with me, he's trying to deal with that something. And that just draws a lot of, attention away from me. So when I'm like a 4 position in my games, it's really good to try to pull the big camp into the lane, because it forces the 5 position to try to walk up and stop you, and then like suddenly this 5 position ranged hero that I couldn't force out of position, or like I couldn't stun him or anything, is suddenly forced to walk at me, and I'm allowed to close the gap that otherwise he would have just been sitting under his tower. So a lot of times the reason why a hero like Sniper is not very good at the high brackets is because people are really good at forcing people to do stuff. And so the Sniper will be forced to like walk out over here and contest the big camp rather than sit under his tower safely farming. But in your bracket, since he's been spending the entire lane just chilling underneath his tower farming, that's something you don't usually get to do in my bracket. But overall, you're doing a good job of being aggressive. The Silencer was actually trying to pull the big camp. This is an advanced 1 or 2K MMR game, to be honest with you.
Actually, I've seen this.
I'm
saying
trying to pull the large camp.
Oh, sometimes you see that.
Okay.
That was typical, though. Yeah.
You're probably not even surprised by what you just witnessed. So, I mean, overall, I think what you're doing is good. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So, as a mid laner, I had a replay analysis like 4 or 5 days ago, where there were times that he was lingering. Where like if he had killed the enemy creep wave 3 or 4 seconds faster, he would have had time to go clear a wave and then come back. Or clear a camp, excuse me. He could have cleared the mid wave, gone and farmed a camp, and then gone back to lane. And that's something where by eliminating inefficiencies, he gets that extra camp. So for you, when you're a support and people die in the lane, it's like really like whether it's your guy or their guy, usually you're supposed to do something. So like in this case, let's talk about this. Like when I say you're supposed to do something, there's a lot of like boxes you need to make sure are checked here. So we're going to talk about, we don't want, as a sniper, we don't want our carry to have to walk really far out in the lane, because he's really vulnerable if he does. So he's coming alive in 7 seconds. I don't think it's right for you to just miss that XP. So I think it's correct that you've been staying in lane while he's dead. But now that he's back alive, what's the lane doing? It looks like it's a little too far outside of his tower. So if it's too far outside of his tower, that means that he's going to get harassed a lot more, right? That means that the Silencer is going to have an easier access hitting him from the side just like he is now. And so my question for you is, what are a couple options that you can do? Okay, first off, is this okay? Like, is this a good place to have the lane?
It's not okay.
Okay, so it's not okay. So what are some things you can do?
I can obviously I can pull, or I can drive the Silencer out.
Exactly. So, which one of those is correct?
Let's see. I can barely see the time, but I would guess that right now would be to drive the silencer out.
Okay, so here's
Although I don't have much of HP right.
here's the answer. I'm not gonna lie. You've been pretty intuitive so far. Everyone I coach is a little bit different. Some people just don't get what I'm trying to ask, but you've been doing good so far. So the beauty of what I just asked you is the importance is the question, not the answer. So I'm saying the question is, the lane, is it okay? And the answer is no. What are some things you can do about it? And you listed the 2 correct answers. And now and I said, which one's the best? And the simple answer is whichever one's like more aggressive that you can do. Okay. Like meaning that you are capable of doing. So like if you say, my only 2 options to help this guy are to pull or to go harass the silencer. But say you had no regen. Say you were at like 200 health with no regen. And you'd be like, but BSJ, I can't go harass the silencer. I'm at 200 health. Well, then the right answer is to go pull. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So like, I would prefer you stay in lane because it's a sniper who doesn't really want you to pull. But like, this is the problem with people in your bracket where if you go pull when you have no regen left, maybe the silencer or maybe this sniper is just going to bitch at you for leaving. But it's like, hey, dude, I'm going to pull the lane back so that we don't have to just keep sitting in this shit lane. Like, I'm going to go pull it
That's
back.
too complicated for them.
Oh, I know. But I'm telling you right now that if you want to gain MMR, like, if I tell you to do these types of things and you have a carry just like ping, 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 I hate to say it, but your best option is to just mute him and play your game and hope for the best. Do not respond. Do not reciprocate. Just let him, like, just say, okay, it's not his fault. He's bad. Just let him live. It's fine. So,
Right.
That's the point though, right? Is you came up with the right 2 options. And so I'd say your choice right now is to either salve up and run at the silencer or go pull. Anything in between is not okay. Like that's the emphasis that we're going for, is that as long as you're doing one of those 2 things, even if it ends up being wrong, I don't mind if you're wrong. Like I don't mind that's like a learning. Yeah, exactly. Because you pull and something goes wrong when you're pulling, or you like run at the silencer and you just die. You're like, oh, I guess I needed 500 health rather than 300 to run at this silencer. That's the important thing. And that's what we're trying to eliminate. It's going to be a little hard. Like the hardest part about Dota is making those decisions quick enough, but just trying to catch yourself doing nothing. And every time you catch yourself doing nothing, if you can go back and look at the replay and ask yourself the same question I just asked you, that will make you so you start recognizing trends. Like that's all it's going to be, is you're going to come to this situation where the lane's pushed out a bit and it's going to be a very similar decision every single time. So there's a lot of times where you'll even hear on my stream when I'm getting supported that my support. So, okay, let's act like we're in the off lane right now. Okay, so say we're down here and we have this many creeps. Okay. If the lane's pushed in like this, I told you as a 4 position, it's a really good option to pull the creeps, right? Right here.
Right.
So when I see this, if I'm a 4 position, all I'm thinking is I'm either going to look to try to be really aggressive and dive this guy because I have so many creeps and the lane's going to shove into his tower, or I'm going to look to pull the camp away from him, right? And in each case, the diving or you running at this guy, that's the more aggressive play, right? Like to run at them. And so all it comes down to is asking yourself if you think you're strong enough to be aggressive. Like, do I think if I'm only a level 2 offlaner or a level 3 offlaner, maybe I don't feel like I'm strong enough to dive this guy under tower yet. But I can still try to make use of the fact that there's creep. So in this type of scenario, if I were him, I would farm the wave and then try to pull. And then I would see that the camp's not there. And so like sometimes I'll be like, wow, I literally lost this lane because I let them block the big camp. And there was that one time that I really needed to pull the big camp because I couldn't dive him under tower. And that's how, for myself, I'll learn the importance of the big camp. So like here, say you're too weak, right? Like say you can't run at this silencer. And you're like, okay, I need to go pull. And then the pull's blocked. And you're like, what now? Like I literally can't walk in at the silencer. I can't help my sniper. The lane's pushing out and I can't pull. And at that point you're just boned, and you'll be like, oh, in hindsight, in this specific lane, because I had a carry who's not very good at playing the lane up here, I really needed a pull camp, right? Like I really needed that option. You know, I don't need to go pull always, but I need that option. So next time maybe you'll save starting gold for a sentry, where if you see that the pull camp's blocked, you'll fly yourself a sentry. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll think to check these things, because that's what it boils down to, is you knew what decision you had to make. You're like, okay, I can't help this guy. I'm going to go pull, and it's just not there. And then because you know that that was the best choice, usually you'll know somewhat like why it was the best choice, like why you needed to do that. Like in this case, you know, your sniper doesn't want to play the lane up this far, so you needed to pull the lane back, and if you can't, you'll realize how big of a detriment that is to your lane, and you'll just start to try to avoid these things happening. So in that case, you know, the giving yourself the best amount of options is to have as much regen as possible so that you're allowed to run at the silencer or pull. But sometimes you just can't do both. Meaning, like, sometimes you don't have enough gold to fly yourself more regen. You know, maybe that's just not possible. But giving yourself as many options as possible is the important part. Because in my bracket, people kind of, like, know what my options are. Like, that's how I approach the lane, where if I'm the 4 position, there's times where I know they're pulling, or I know what the guy's doing, because I'm like, well, he's either doing one of these 2 things, or he's bad. Like that. Like that's the, you know, that's how I'm able to approach what the opponent's doing. And in your bracket, nobody thinks like that. So all you have to do, if you're doing the right thing, they're just gonna lose, you know, out on the experience battle or whatever. So I know I just took a really long tangent, but you seem to be,
cool.
Yeah, you seem to be understanding like very well, like the overall
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
what I want you to think about as support. So if at any point if I'm rambling too much, you know, let me know.
It's cool. I mean,
Okay, so good job here. Continuing to run at the silencer.
I think we're gonna kill him now.
I see what you mean by if you run at them, your sniper, you know, grows a pair of balls or something. Yeah, I can kind of tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I think anybody watching, most of them as a 2K carry player, would be happy to have you as the support right now.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah, so right now, I would have checked my sniper's items right now, because I see that he's really low. And if I'm going to go pull, I definitely don't want to... Like, I'm in that situation again where I'm considering pulling because of where the lane is. And so I would see...
Well,
Go ahead.
I think I pulled and I got him killed for that.
So if you're going to leave and go pull, yes, maybe this guy's bad, but you also shouldn't leave him in lane with that amount of health and no help, if possible, to fix it, right? Like, I'm not saying, like, if there's nothing you can do, so be it.
Oh, I can
But
salve him.
you can salve him, right? That's exactly what I'm going to say, is if you want to go pull, and you're like, well, the reason I don't want to pull is because my sniper's at 350 health. Oh, I can just
I
salve
bet
him.
that with 2k off he's gonna die here, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that if I'm a carry and I'm this low, and there's some times where my supports could have salved me, or they leave, and my choice is to either die and get XP or to just not get any XP. So it's like, yeah, maybe in your bracket this guy's bad and he shouldn't die or whatever, but anything you can do to make him less likely to die within your power, right? Like, say you had no salve, then at that point you can say, well, hey man, we need this lane pulled, play safe, I'm gonna go pull, you know, that kind of thing. You can tell him in your best way. I know some people are toxic and they're not gonna listen to you or whatever, but
Yeah,
hey,
I think I used the chat hole for that, but yeah.
yeah, if you tell the guy every single time, you know, I'm pulling, be careful,
Pulling creeps careful.
yeah, maybe 1 out of 10 times you save the guy, you know, like, because maybe he listened to you, you know, maybe 1 out of 10. And if you say, hey man, like, say you don't have a salve, say, hey man, like, I'm pulling, be careful, and the guy dies. What do you take away from that? Like, what do you learn from that?
Again, if I'm pulling and I say that I'm pulling,
Yeah.
and then he dies anyway, that
Yeah.
is stupid. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing you could have done about it. Like, that's actually really important. So it's like, here, if this guy dies, I would have said, well, you could have salved him, and maybe he
Yeah,
wouldn't have
that
died. And
actually
you
does.
definitely don't need this salve based on your, health and mana
Yeah,
situation. So at the end of the day, I know people don't love working with their teammates in terms of like some people are toxic or whatever, but Dota is a team game. Any carry in the world
no,
would be
I
happy to be
just hear
salved
them and
here.
I do what I think best,
Exactly,
basically.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. So I definitely would have pulled here again.
Radiant's top tower
I'd say you've probably missed like 3 or 4 pulls, and I
Yeah,
just
definitely.
want it to be the question you're asking yourself is, the importance of pulls. So pulls are always really good either when the lane's pushing out and you need to reset the lane equilibrium, like that's one use of pulls. And the other use of pulls is to just gain an XP advantage, right? Like when I told you to single pull when it was underneath the tower, and you're like, should I pull at 145 or whatever? Well, you're farming a small camp. So first off, you're giving your sniper solo XP, but you're also going to get like 120 experience from killing this camp, and maybe 1 or 2 of your creeps are going to die. So that overall shift in XP is like 150, 180 experience in your guys' favor. And the two
That's good.
options for the opponent is that they either contest you, which means the silencer is no longer laning, which is good, or they just lose XP. So like, both options are very good for you. And those are the type of situations in the lane that I'm trying to create where I'm like, okay, I know my 2 choices are this. If I pull, they're either going to contest me, and that's what's going to happen, or they're not going to contest me, and I'm going to get all the experience. So, either way, I know what their options are, and both of them are good for me. But I usually want to try to be prepared either way for what they're
All
doing.
right.
Okay. Oh, okay. So your sniper's silencing under tower. I'd even give him a tango right now.
Yeah, definitely. I
Okay.
really fucked up with that, definitely.
Oh, it looks like you almost look like you were trying to, but then you didn't. So, okay. So once again, the things I think to myself, lane's pushing right now. So the 2 choices when the lane's pushing, what are they?
Um, when the lane's pushing, I don't know. Now we kill him and it worked for us, but maybe it was stupid.
No, well the 2. What did I say? When I was the offlaner, what are the 2 choices when the lane's pushing?
All right. I mean, we can drive them off.
We either
Yeah,
run at
we
them
can
or
go.
we go pull, right? Like that's the 2 choices.
Right.
Anywhere in between is really bad because if the lane's pushing, what that implies is that 45 seconds from now the lane's going to be at their tower and they're going to be safe. That's what that
Right.
means, right? So if the lane's doing that, we need to capitalize on the moment that we have more creeps and we are stronger. And usually in the early game, the more creeps you have, usually, unless you're against like an axe who spins on the creeps or whatever, usually that means you're the ones that are stronger. So I'm not just here to tell you all the things you did wrong. It's hilarious because in your bracket, when I coach people, sometimes they do something that's right and they don't fully realize why it was right. So I'm telling you right
Yeah.
now that you guys had more creeps and your 2 choices were to run the fuck at these guys or to go pull. And you chose to run at them and kill them. And that's fine. That's great. Like, as long as those are one of the 2 things you're doing, perfect. Like, that is, and it maybe sometimes you'll do this, like I said, and you'll be like, God, let's run at them, get them, and then you'll just feed, and you'll be like, oh, maybe I should have pulled. And as long like I just don't want to see one of those things not happening. That's the major emphasis. Because when I feel like when I'm watching people and they're not getting better at Dota, it's because they're not making that decision either way, and that's resulting in no growth happening. Okay, so let me see this here. I'm gonna rewind. Maybe your sniper's just bad.
Yeah, I really
So,
fucked up.
right.
Like, I was following this creep and
I think your sniper was a bit over aggressive there, but when you start seeing him get low, you should probably be more ready. But I actually don't think you could have done too much there. I think he was just low health and the Legion was spawning and he was being really aggressive anyways. For like really no reason. Nice. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to rewind again because there's a lot of things to look at here. 1 second. So you do pull. We get the turn kills here in a second. Where is it? Right here. Okay. So right here is this moment where I would say, okay, the lane's pushing. Legion's dead. I would love to reset the lane before she gets back. But then I look and see, oh, it's 6:15.
right.
I can't pull. It's too late. So first off, you can try to practice. It is kind of difficult, but it is possible to pull this camp through here.
Right, I've seen it in pro replays, but I never get it.
Yeah, so maybe it's worth your time to go into a private lobby and practice that, you know?
Fair enough, I'll do that.
It's
Yeah,
because in this situation, your only solution would be this, right? That's the only
would
thing
be
you
that,
actually have
okay.
time for. But at the same time, say you just can't do any of those. Well, then your choice is to run at them for the time that you can't do that, meaning like say your next chance to pull is 30 seconds from now, I can go pull then. Or at least in the meantime, make yourself as strong as possible to continue fighting them when they're alive. Okay, so
What do you mean by that?
what I mean
Make
by that
myself-
is what happened. You guys just got kills. When people get kills, what is okay? I'm not gonna be. It's a hard question to answer. What that almost always means is that you spent mana and health to get the kill, and you gained gold from getting the kill. So
Right.
we have to make sure that we are healthy enough to fight again, which in this case you pretty much are, so that's not a concern. And we also have to make sure that we capitalize on the kill we just got and buy ourselves items. Like, that's pretty much what I'm saying. It seems so simple, but you'd be amazed how many people just don't. So, in your case, you know, whatever it wants to be, whether you want it to be a bracer, a wand, I could even argue in this lane, like a stick and raindrops, because you're against Legion Commander's Q. Raindrops are really
By
good
the
for
way,
Go ahead.
Stick is like I'm pretty far from the enemy most of the time because of the spirit.
Because of what?
So because of the spirit, I don't play near the lane.
Oh,
Like
I mean,
I'm
you
pretty
are.
far from the lane.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look this up real quick because I don't actually know. Dota 2 wiki magic wand. Pretty sure the range is like really far, but I actually don't know. I should know this. I really should. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's 1200. So I was gonna say I think it's a standard aura radius. Okay, so 1200 is pretty far. Like, is all I want to say. Like, if you're
Okay.
here and the guy's casting a spell like right here, you'll get, you know, a wand charge. So
Alright.
all I'm saying is like I'm not even saying necessarily that you need to stick here. Like, I'm making no argument about what exact item you need. Okay, so like if I'm gonna be coaching you, for instance, and every time I coach somebody, I think this is your first step. I can't really coach you any further past that. You've been doing a good job so far of when I give you a situation, you make a choice, and you at least are recognizing really well what the choices are. Right? You're not telling me necessarily what the correct choice is every time, but you are telling me what the choices are. And so right here, the only choice you have is to buy some items. Like, that's all I care about. Like, you have 700 gold.
Okay.
That's a lot. Like, what do you think your net worth is right now? Like, total net
No,
worth.
actually, if I would buy a bracer now, that would give me a good buffer for.
Absolutely.
for
You're against a
fighting
lot of magic damage. You're at 1700 net worth. Okay? 1700. And you have
Oh, it's higher than the
650 of it is being invested for the future. You know, like, yeah, I'm being sarcastic. It doesn't do anything. You know, it's just sitting there. That's like more than a third of your net worth. So that's like a big deal in terms of getting in the habit. So like, just say we're on like this line of progression of getting better as a Dota player. My first step, if I'm coaching like someone like yourself, is make sure you buy an item, right? And then maybe when you get to like 3K, 4K, at that point when you're always buying items, maybe you're buying the wrong items. So then I'll be like, okay, you should have bought this item for this reason. But the fact is, if you buy any item, that's better than nothing, right? That's literally going to be better than nothing. So that's all we're trying to do, is step by step. So every time you get a kill or just some drastic exchange happens, you know, everyone fights the way down to no health or some shit, you know, check your gold. What I like to do in terms of a habit is I do this in the carry roll a lot, is I open the shop and I shift click whatever I think I'm going to want next. So say I think I wanted a wand. Okay, well, I guess I can't do it in a replay, but I shift click it and it shows up here.
Yeah, I do that too, yeah.
And so if you get a kill and you had a wand down here, there's no way you're not going to hear the ding telling you that you have enough gold to buy it, and you're going to remember to buy it. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Because there's times where if I don't do that, where if I don't put my next item in my quick buy, then I just forget to buy something. Like, I actually just forget. But every time I have an item in that quick buy, The minute I get enough gold for it, I will buy it. So it's a really good habit to always have something in your quick buy. It's one of those where just to be sure, if you have something in your quick buy, it does not mean you are 100% committed to buying whatever that is, but just to get in the habit of making sure you do buy something. It will add up a lot.
Right, so I'll take that. I'll make sure to have something.
Yeah. Even if it's a small thing, like some tangos, you know, like even then, like that's something. Okay,
Yeah.
so this was... Oh, that's what happened. This was the rewind. Okay. But yeah, I hate to see you fighting in lane with half of your net worth, you know, sitting right here. That's the only thing I see
Yeah,
you doing
now that
wrong
I
right
look
now.
at it, it really is stupid.
It's a big one, right? You're simply playing the mechanical game of Dota where you're pushing buttons and you're doing it with half as much net worth. So like imagine like that trade went well. Imagine if you also had more items, you know, like that could have just been even better. Sometimes you
Yeah,
would have
that would've-
barely died there, and you would have lived if you had flown yourself, you know, something earlier. So right now, same thing. Okay, the two people you just killed them. Obviously, you have a ton of gold. But at this point, I told you the two things to worry about are making sure you're healthy enough to fight them and resetting the lane. Like making sure you reset the lane. So if you're going to base right now, like you're going to go back to base because of mana, what should you do before you go back
I
to
shouldn't
base?
leave the lane as it is now. Yeah, I should pull.
You
Basically.
should immediately pull, right? And I would even argue, since you're so rich, I would fly myself like a Mango, a Clarity, and your phase boots and stay on the map. Like sometimes...
But it's gonna take a while until I get his mana.
Yeah, but no, so your courier is going to get there maybe 25 seconds is what's going to happen. What's going to happen is during that 25 seconds, you're going to go pick up the courier. Like what you can do is go pull. Even consider go meeting your courier like right here or something, like making it a bit faster. And then you clarity up, you mango. During the time that, during all of this, right? Say you did this right after you got the kills. Like, say right here you got the kills, and you started this process right now. So, so like, this is how, you know, an AK, or, you know, whatever, I'm trying to brag. This is how a high-level player thinks. Okay, just got the kill. They're respawning in 20 seconds. Like, I have no health, no mana. I have 1,200 gold.
Right.
I can buy... I need health and mana. I'm going to buy my item. I want to go pull because it's 756. Okay, there's two creeps right here, so we're probably not going to be able to pull the large camp, but I can get to the small camp at 8:15. They're not going to be able to contest it because they're just now going to be respawning at 8:15, and I'm going to go pull it, and by the time I'm done pulling, my courier is going to beat me, and I'm going to have the stuff that I need, right? I'm going to have these phase boots, I'm going to have the mango, the clarity, and I'm going to go from there, right? Like, that's, like... And people in my bracket, they don't even realize they think like that, right? Like, they just do it at this point. But for me, I want you to know this does go, like, this is the process mentally that goes through our heads, and you can work your way towards that. So at the very least, every time you get kills, think about the lane equilibrium and what you could do with pulling. Sometimes, say your sniper's full health right now, you guys could maybe just push the tower. Like, maybe because they're dead and you guys are still healthy, you could go push the tower with their death. So usually, like, at this stage, maybe 8 minutes and later, like somewhere around here, if I get kills, I'll ask myself, can we get any objectives? That'll be like my first question. You know, this can be at the 20-minute mark. You can ask yourself this. You could be like, oh, we just killed 3 of their heroes. Should we push mid? I think we're strong enough to push mid. Let's go push mid. And as long as you considered pushing mid and you thought to yourself, I don't think we can, that's good. But, like, the problem is people just don't consider it at all and they go hit some neutral creeps, right? Like, you know, that's the thing. So right now, as long as you're considering these things, that's a huge step in the right direction. And I would like, the perfect play right here, just for an example, would be to do exactly what I said. You get a mango, you get a clarity, you get your phase boots delivered to you, you go pull, and then depending on what's happening from there, from there it kind of is depending what happens next. But that's exactly what you should do here.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's middle
So I do like that you, like, go back and reset, meaning, like, you recognize the... You even bought 2 mangoes and 2 clarities, but then you went back to base. It's kind of funny. I like that you knew you had to, like, reset and go back to, like, get your mana and health back, because I've seen some supports that have this really bad habit of, like, sitting on low mana and low health a lot. So that's a good step, but it is also still important that you do it even more efficiently if possible. Okay, so another good kill. lane's going good overall. Like we've talked about a lot of things you could have done better, but I will be honest. Like this is above the 1.8k level, so this is good. You're running towards mid. You have a mid Sky. This is a good kill if you can get it.
It's not gonna work though.
He just doesn't use his ult. Okay, fascinating. Doesn't work. That's fine. Hey, you tried. Nothing wrong with that. I think Skywrath Mage is a good hero to play around. Usually at this point, if I get the kill on Legion, you know, I would say, okay, maybe I have some time to go kill another lane. Who is it going to be? Why? So in this case, like Viper is a very gankable hero. Skywrath is a very aggressive mid hero. I actually think that could have just worked. Sometimes as support myself, I experience this where I'm like, wow, my guy just didn't push buttons, and then
Did you play support often? Because
I play support maybe 1 out of 10 games, but like I play a lot. I play a lot of Dota, so you know
so
that equates to a decent amount at the end of the day. So what I'm saying is, I do have enough experience in almost every role now to kind of say, yeah, I've experienced this before, where you just like run to the guy's lane. Go ahead.
I was just asking because I've seen most of your videos with a cross.
Yeah, for sure. Most of my games are core. Yeah. Okay, so now let's see here. This is an important decision. I'm going to see what you do, and we're going to talk about it after you do it. What I mean by an important decision is whether or not you TP out of base. If you TP, where you TP. If you don't TP, why not? So my question is, why are you walking out of base? Why are you not TPing?
All right. So the thing is that I told you, I think that I worked with a coach. I still work with a coach. And she told me, well, don't TP unless it's emergency or you're going to get something.
Oh, nice. So this is a good coach. I'm actually impressed. I have people in my 5K coaching sessions that would TP out of base here. So this is good. So yeah, unless it's immediately necessary, it's good not to TP. And right, like by holding this TP, you're effectively saying maybe I can help if the Legion dives my sniper top. And I'm gonna walk bottom. So it's actually really good here. Top is the lane that you're kind of counterplaying. Like if you're gonna be there, it's to counterplay. Excuse me. And if you're in bottoms, like this is the dead lane idea that I talk about all the time. Top lane's the counterplay lane. Bottom lane's the do shit lane, right? If you were paying attention, Void has no chrono. Silencer has no global. So
that's way over me, but okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, in a perfect scenario, that's something to consider. Like, once again, anything I mention is just something worth considering. But this is a great opportunity. Like, either way, if you're going to make a play, go bottom. If you're going to make a counter play, go top. And depending on who's winning mid, meaning if your guy's winning mid, that's an aggressive place to go. And if your guy's losing mid, that's a place to go to make a counter play. Yeah, so in this case, by walking bottom, you're allowing yourself to then counterplay mid or top if you think it's good. So this is
necessary.
Yeah, so this is a good way. This is a good place to walk. You actually chose a very good option. In this case, your Skywrath Mage is not really making himself helpable because he just doesn't have mana to ulti this guy. So what I would do is I'd be walking bottom and I'd see I'm losing my tower mid. Okay, I think I can help my Skywrath. And then I would look at his mana and be like, oh, never mind. So I guess we're losing mid tower. Like that's,
I think I did all of that except the last part.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
We'll see.
And then all I'm thinking to myself in the back of my mind is be ready to TP top. Like, be considering TP top. That doesn't mean you're supposed to if something happens, but like
keep an eye on the sniper.
Yeah, keep an eye on it, right? Like just in sports terms, my coaches used to say head on a swivel. You're looking around, you're making sure you're aware of what you're supposed to be looking for, and always be ready to check. So wait, where are you? Okay, your player perspective. So you're down here. So like on my way walking here, that's when you use your camera perspective to check all the things that I want you to. So say while you were it seems really simple, but this is how you can prove to yourself you're thinking about the right things. I want your player perspective to do exactly what you're kind of doing right here, but even more so again. Okay, wait, right when you're here, I want to know exactly how much health and mana this guy has. I want to check the Legion's items and see what she's doing.
Wait a moment.
What?
When we see it was my camera or your?
That was your camera. So you actually did this pretty well, but I'm telling you to take it to a next step. You actually were
Oh,
looking at the other lanes, but I want you to gather even more information. Like right now, you see,
right.
okay, Legion's level 6, Sniper's level 7. I'm immediately thinking as a support, there's no way this Legion ever single-handedly kills the Sniper. So, if I see a support TP through this ward, then I'll consider going top, right? Like that'll
Right.
be for me like the trigger to know I might need to help top. But what you're actually doing is looking around the map really well, like actually way better than I would expect you to. But now I want you to check people's
To take
items.
one.
Yeah, check people's items, check people's levels. Because I think based on the fact that you played a lot of bot matches, that you are just better than 1800, but it's just going to be a matter of sheer volume of time for you to gain MMR. And this isn't tips I would usually give for like an 1800 player. Like I don't think checking items and stuff is in that bracket of skill, but I do think you're already checking the map. So the next step for you, I'm always going to give you what I think is the next step. So if your skill in something
Alright.
is like 1K, I'll tell you what it takes to have that skill be 2K. You know, if you're checking the map like a 4K, I'm going to tell you what it takes to check the map like a 5K. You know, like that's all I can really do.
So
So, go ahead.
so let's say I clicked on the Viper and
Dire's middle tower
like,
has fallen.
what can I learn from that?
So what if like let's not even use this example. Okay, yeah. What if you were scared of TPing on the Viper and him like ulting you and hitting you with his Q 10 times, right? What if that was the
Well, that's
reason that you don't want to help, right? Like what if you're like, "Oh, I can't really do anything to Viper. He'll just ult me and click me 4 times and I'll die." And then you look
right.
at his mana and he has 80 mana. And you're like,
So it means that I can walk
"Yes."
on top of.
So what I do is when I'm checking people, I come up with like in my head, like the goal is to have a general idea of whether or not I want to contest them or fight them there and why I wouldn't. Like if I weren't going to, why would I not? And that's the best way in my experience to come up with the decision to do it. Because if I say, "Oh, I kind of want to play here, but I don't want to play here because I just died a chrono." But then you know that chrono's on cooldown. So in that case, that should give you the green light to go there, right? Because if you're like, the only reason I
Right.
wouldn't do that is because he has chrono, then and he doesn't have it. Okay, go. Like that's great. So in this case, like if I'm checking people's items and mana and stuff, I'm doing it because there's a reason why I don't want to go there, or there's a reason why I do want to go there, and I'm checking to see as much information as I can to gather to make the right choice about that. So it can apply to cores, that can apply to supports. It doesn't really matter what role you are for that.
Yeah,
But okay, so now your sniper's owning. Let's see here. So in this case, I don't think it's a good use of your time as a support to be sitting mid like this. I don't think you're wrong to be sitting mid because somebody has to be doing this. But like right here, I would be thinking to myself, okay, this lane needs to get pushed, but I don't feel good about it. And what I mean is like, are you actually doing something right now? Meaning like
I'm farming resources.
yeah, you're farming resources, but like as your team, are you helping your team by farming these resources
No,
right now?
not at all.
No. So that's fine. As a support, I'm not telling you not to farm here. What I am telling you is if you recognize as a support that the resource you're farming is not helping your team, do it faster. Like that is what I'm telling you. So like if you're top and say your sniper's left and you're like defending the tower as an ET, you know, that's something a hero like Elder Titan can do, where you're like sitting really scared under the tower, you're throwing spirits out and you're de-pushing the wave. What you're actually doing is protecting that tower. So, and that's like a specific purpose, right? Like you're actually doing something that helps your team. And if that's the case, I need you to do it as carefully and methodically as possible, right? Like I need you to make sure you're not dying. I don't really care about how fast it gets done. I just need to make sure it gets done. You know, make sure you don't die and all that kind of stuff. But here, you're in a situation where the farm you're taking should be taken. Like I'm not saying don't farm it, but the farm is not actually doing anything. So, you know, this should be speared out the mid wave. Like this should be a spirit on this wave. Run the spirit down mid lane because it's going to hit a creep wave like right about in the middle of the river right now. And as soon as you possibly can, get this done, right? Like sometimes what you'll learn in my bracket is you needed to push this wave, but because your team needed you bottom, you actually didn't have time to farm the wave. You only had time to push it. So you had to like nuke it out, but then run away before the creeps are even dead, but you just get the experience rather than getting the last hits. And that's something.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does. But then in the high bracket, that's why sometimes people will see like cores with like 400 GPM. They're like, how does this 9K player have 400 GPM at 20 minutes? And if you look, he's been playing scared all game because he has to. And instead of farming the waves, he's just pushing them. Like that's what they're doing, right? Like, and you'll learn like that's why as you go up in the brackets, efficiency will actually go down because you have to play in order to play the map rather than to get the last hits. So the point is though, the emphasis being, I talked about bottom lane kind of being the do shit lane. This is kind of a do nothing area right now that you're in. Great, you have to push the wave because otherwise there's just going to be creeps dying with nobody getting them. But do it much faster with a sense of urgency to get the hell out of here. That's like what I'm basically implying. And like,
so invest much mana as I.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And it seems like something so simple like, hey, BSJ, just go kill the creeps faster. But there are times where the speed of you killing creeps is really not that important. It's more so like doing it safely. But like right here, say you'd clear these creeps 5 or 10 seconds faster, and then you see this fight going on here. What if you could have already been like right in the river, like right around here, and this fight's closer, meaning like, you know, your guy's not TPing out, you guys actually could maybe kill somebody here. That could make or break the difference between you showing up to that fight in time. So what I'm doing though is, since I told you to clear this wave for the reason that I told you, right? What I would expect if you understood that, right? If you understood why you're clearing the wave, right when you're clearing the wave, like right here, you're going to get this last hit, but while your hero's last hitting, you don't want to choose where you're going once you're done killing these creeps, right? Like that's not what you want to do. You want to choose where you're going before you're done killing the creeps, so that the time that you finish killing the creep, you're immediately going to go do something, right? Like that's the goal. If you wait to be done with something before you think about what you're doing next, that's what creates you just sitting there doing nothing, right? Like that's what that creates.
That might have won this game for me, you know, because we lost this game to stuff like that.
So I'm telling you, when I'm playing against like 6K players, they feel like they're playing really slow. Like it just feels like they're very telegraphed, and like everything they do is really obvious to me. And what happens is, if you play faster like this, everything people in your bracket do is going to be like really obvious to you. Like you're just gonna be like, oh, they are so slow. Like what? Like it just, you're going to always feel like the lanes are pushed for you. You're going to feel like you're like just thinking faster than they are. And then Dota's really easy. Like if I'm playing Dota against better, and if I'm playing Dota against better players, the first thing I feel like is that they're always a step ahead of me. And it's really these little things, like this thing that saved them an extra 5 seconds on a creep wave here and there. And, you know, right after they decided where they're going before they killed this creep wave, so they're maybe a second or two faster with that decision. And after doing that 20 times, they're now a whole minute ahead of me, you know? But okay. So what I'm saying, though, is if you know why you're killing this creep wave as fast as you can, then during the time that I'm right here, where I'm about to kill the creep wave, I'm looking, you know, right here. I'm looking down here and seeing what's going on, and then I'm looking up here, seeing what's going on. So once I clear this creep wave, I have 3 choices, okay? My 3 choices are to continue shoving mid, because it's going to get to a tower now, right? Like you're actually coming close to a tower. Continue shoving mid, run to help your team bottom, or because there's so many people bottom and you see this, maybe you even consider running top, right? Like the point is, though, you're a support, you're not really a jungler. I'm not saying you're gonna jungle, but the point is you have to go do something immediately, like that, and do it fast. And if you do it fast, people in your bracket are just gonna die to it because they just aren't ready. So in this case, I kill this wave, and I'm gonna make the conscious decision that I have to go to one of the other 3 lanes, or I have to go to one of the 3 lanes and get something done. So if I look bottom and see 2 heroes, and I look top and see 2 heroes, what does that mean for mid lane?
Well, it means for mid lane there can only be 1 hero?
Max 1. Yeah, there's only going to be 1. And then I ask myself, okay, if that 1 hero's here, do I feel strong enough to push? And then the next step is, say I see 2 heroes bottom, and I say, God, I want to go bottom, but if they have 2 or 3 heroes there, I don't want to go there. That's a great reason to go push mid, because you're going to force one of them to go mid, and then you go bottom. Like, that's how people think about their decisions. This applies to supports. Like, people don't think about this, but supports, especially heroes like ET that are kind of known for farming waves, like, you can do this as a support. You can look to pressure towers, kind of. Like, when I say pressure, I'm not saying you're going to take the tower. You're just a support. But you're going to threaten... Yeah, you're going to push the creeps. You're going to threaten to take that tower, and you can force people to react to what you're doing. And supports have a lot more power in that regard than they usually give themselves credit for. Okay, so... Right, see how much lingering was done there? Okay. Who cares about denies? Shove the fucking creep wave. This is why, sorry for getting harsh there for a second. So basically, like, here, it's all about forcing movements. Like, you see 2 heroes bottom, like, you want to just make the opponent react. They're down a hero. Effectively, right now on the map, if you don't include bottom, they have 2 heroes, right? Because they have 1 dead, and they have 2 bottom. So they have 2 heroes. And you have 2 heroes top, and you have 1 hero mid. So these lanes are automatically at the advantage for you guys, right? You have 3 heroes, they have 2, and you also like have 2 cores top, which means this lane's like automatically at the advantage. So what this means is this lane's strong up here. If you force them to react to you here, this lane can do whatever the fuck they want. And what's going to end up happening is if you force a reaction here, either they're going to fight here, either they're going to fight your team top and you can just like hit mid tower because that means they're not fighting you, or they're going to fight you and your teammates top can do whatever they want. That's like the 2 choices. So what, like when you see these like really good teams, like, you know, the tier 1 teams, all they're doing is out resourcing people. Like they're just making it so they always have the numbers advantage. They're always distributing the map more efficiently than the opponents. Like right now, they would recognize the importance of pressuring this lane and this lane at the same time because of everything I just told you. And it's like, I know you're only 1800, but you've proven that you can understand the concepts of what I'm trying to get you to do. So this is why it's so important to push waves at this point in the game. And I don't care anything more than just shoving the waves in a game like this, especially when the opponent has really immobile cores like Viper. Like that's the best way to deal with these heroes is just make them chase you around.
What do you mean? Viper is mobile? It's not
immobile.
Mobile, right?
Immobile.
Oh, immobile.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, we're on the same page there. That's the best way to deal with these immobile cores is by forcing them to run around.
Type of games, you mean a static game or
these type of games? What did you ask?
No, when you say this type of games, like
I would say what I mean by that. I sometimes I get in the bad habit of thinking in my head what type of game that is, but not really saying it out loud. I actually think you're strong enough to shove lanes. So like in some games as support, you just like if you were to ever walk to lanes, you're just gonna die. Like you're actually just gonna feed. So what I'm saying is in this type of game, meaning that you are actually strong enough to push lanes, it's really strong against heroes like Void who have long cooldowns and heroes like Viper to just shove lanes and make them react to you. Because if Void has no cooldown, like if he doesn't have chrono, he doesn't want to fight you. So forcing him to react is really annoying. And Viper is really slow and kind of wants you to just walk down lanes. So if you're forcing him to react to you, that's great too. I mean, forcing people to react to you is like always good. But when you're a support and you're strong enough to shove lanes, that's what I meant by this type of game. Is like you're actually like a lot of games to support, you can't be doing what you're doing here, like where you're actually sitting on top of the creep wave and farming it, right? So
when they don't have a tower behind me.
Exactly. So definitely don't give a shit about denying creeps here. I would have been shoving that lane in as fast as possible and then helping that D push bottom is what I would have been doing. Like at least not when I say helping, I would say I would walk towards bottom because I see the opponent threatening bottom. And all this stuff I'm telling you to do is giving you the best opportunity to potentially help. Like right there, I think you would have had pretty huge impact if you were here like 5 or 10 seconds earlier. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah.
Like you were in the right
It
place.
would have saved the guy.
I think you did the right thing here. You were in the right part of the map. Now let's get there 5 or 10 seconds earlier, and it has to do with all the little things I just told you. Okay, so we just got kills. What did I tell you when you get kills?
Buying items.
Buy items, first off. That is true. You did do that, though, actually. But what are your 2 choices now that it's like 14 minutes in the game and you got 3 kills?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Like, I can stack, maybe?
Here's the great actually thing. Is the first 2 things you should ever consider is shoving lanes and taking objectives, okay? So what I mean by that is Those are the things that are usually the most risky to do on the map ever, is to shove a lane, like to do what you were doing mid, or to take objectives, because that just puts you at risk, right? So when
Right.
people are dead, I immediately ask myself, is there a lane to shove or is there an objective to take? Period.
Oh,
So like
okay.
that's exactly what I'm going to ask myself. So I'm going to talk about it right here. Okay. So you guys kill people. You saw Viper pushing mid, right? And now you see Viper TPing bottom. They're 3 dead and Viper just TP'd bottom. How many heroes are effectively in top and mid lane for them? Like how many
heroes are?
how many heroes on their team are effectively on this part of the map right now, based on the fact that you see 3
Only
bottom
one.
and Viper TP'd bottom in front of your, or 3 dead, excuse me, and Viper TP'd bottom in front of your face. That means
So he's stuck here, and maybe Legion can help him. I don't know.
yeah,
if
and
he
he's
has a-
stuck here. So when somebody like a Viper TPs like this, is it good to go on them?
It's more than good. It's the best because you can't escape.
Okay, so if we're talking about like a PL, sure. We're talking about a Viper. So when a Viper TPs to his own safe lane, what's the best way to punish a Viper?
I mean, I can stomp him, and I mean with other guys, I can't do it alone. But
So I told you Viper's immobile, right? That's his weaknesses. And he
Right.
wants to actually fight you. He wants to walk around and hit you. So when he TPs to his own safe lane, and what he wants is for you to do that. Like he wants to fight you. He wants to be in front of you. What should you do?
yeah, I mean, lure him. I don't know. Push
I would
to his
immediately
tower.
TP top and run at this tier 1 top. That's exactly what I would do right now.
Okay.
Because
Even though we are like 2 or 3 here, I don't know.
yeah, Viper just TP'd here. So he's
But we are.
but you
there are
being 2 or
two
3 here, you being 2 or 3 here has gotten 3 kills and forced a Viper to TP bottom. Like that's what you've done with being 2 or 3 here. So it's not like a waste.
I'm taking what you've said. I'm taking it one step further. What you're saying
Okay.
is, why wouldn't we kill him if we're free?
Because Legion can TP behind him and help him, and maybe even Wind Ranger can buy back. I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is, with Viper being there, the sheer amount of heroes potentially that could be bottom is twice as much as could be anywhere else on the map.
Okay, I get what you're
You know,
saying.
do you know,
Okay.
like usually I take the definition of whether or not a fight's good or an engagement's good based on the potential of how many heroes on both teams can be there. So right now, if you were to TP top, you have 2 heroes top, and they have maximum 1, like max
Right.
1. So that to me is an instantly good decision, because what happens is you now have 20 seconds where you are guaranteed to have a 2v1 top if you TP there right now, right? And so what that
Right.
can mean is by the time these guys are respawning and they see that, you can think to yourself, okay, how many heroes do they need to bring to stop us? So we're going to chill, maybe back off, and then we see that's Void TP mid. Okay, we're going to go back up and walk there because we know Viper's still bottom, we know Void TP mid, and we have enough heroes still here. You know what I'm saying? The point is that immediately capitalizing on numbers advantages is like really important. And when people die, that's why it's so crucial to think about shoving lanes and shoving objectives. And it's like, I know what you mean. Like, I don't think you're way off by saying we should go on this Viper. But Viper's just the type of hero where if he makes it so he can't show up to fights, I would just go somewhere else. Like, he creates no tower pressure. Like, this hero doesn't do anything, right? Like, if you think about it, like, if you guys leave bottom, is that Viper going to take your tower?
Nah.
No, but if that Viper's like a troll warlord or something, it might be more beneficial to address him directly, you know? Like, because if you leave the lane, he might take a tower, right?
Right.
So it's like against a hero like Ursa, if he TP's top, I might be inclined to fight him head on because there's Rosh on top and that hero does Rosh. But if Ursa TP's bottom, that hero doesn't fucking do shit bottom. Like, what does that hero threaten? He doesn't threaten towers. He doesn't threaten lane shove. Like, it's an Ursa. He's good. All he does is kill people. He kills people, and the only objective on the map he takes is Rosh. So if he TP's somewhere that's not Rosh, let him have it. For all means. Like, he's not going to be efficient, you know, like, because he's an Ursa. He's not going to take our towers. I'm going to let him stay bottom. Like, I'll let him have that lane. It's like, of course, if he's, like, level 6 and I'm level 10 or something, I'm going to run at him. But, like, I'm saying an equal game. You know, like, this Viper is their most farmed hero. You can effectively now, with a 4K advantage, also fight away from their most farmed hero. Like, that's now like a huge advantage for you guys, right? So all I'm saying is I gave you a bunch of reasons why certain decisions would be beneficial, and notice how literally nothing happened, and then your sniper also got ran at top. Is this a secret? Is this a surprise to you based on what I just said? Any of this? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
imagine if you were here, right? Like, this guy dies, and your sniper turns it, and instead of getting your level 10 sniper feeding a dual win to a level 7 Legion, your sniper is going to continue free farming, right? Like, that's what's going to happen. And Dota's not, you know, I'm not saying I'm like an oracle, right? Like, I'm not saying I knew this was going to happen. What I'm saying is I knew this was possible. And I knew that if something was going to happen, this is where it would be. And so the point of Dota is that you're not always predicting exactly what's going to happen, but you're predicting what could happen. And if you're in position for what could happen as often as possible, good things are just going to happen. Like that's all it is. And so like there's a player, I remember like this was like 4 or 5 years ago where I played with the Universe in a pub, and he was playing Darkseer and he was off lane obviously. And for whatever reason, that one game specifically, I always remember there it was like a chaotic as hell game, and I've never felt more carried by an offlaner, where he was just always behind me saving me. Like every time I got gone on, he was always there, like vacuuming 4 people and surging me away. Like always. I was like, holy shit, this guy's literally always where I need him to be. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And since then, I've kind of begun to realize, you know, what goes into these players doing that kind of stuff. But the feeling of knowing somebody's in the right place at the right time, things just work. Like that's really all there is to it. So this is what I'm talking about here. Could have been avoided, and these are the type of plays where as a support, this is how you win the game. Like it was you pushing mid faster and then showing up to the bottom fight and maybe saving your Slardar. It was you TPing top right after that fight and turning this sniper death that like this otherwise sniper death into a potential tower push, or like, you know, saving him, you know, whatever. Best case, or like at the very least just save him. Okay, so at this point, this is good. This Viper shouldn't be there. They showed 3 heroes top. I don't know what he's doing, but hey, your bracket people are gonna do some weird shit, so that's great. Your sniper TP back top, which is real questionable, but because he's a sniper and he's super squishy, I would exactly do what you're doing, where I run behind him, because I'm like, why did my guy just TP top if he's fucked if he doesn't get any help? Okay, so you TP'd bottom.
I think because I've seen the void, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so what's happening right now is I don't mind that you react to bottom, but at the same time, my sniper TP's top, and he's actually one of my most farmed heroes, if not my most farmed hero, meaning like, you know, I see the net worths, but in your game, you're kind of just aware he's farmed, but you don't know how farmed.
I can gauge it. Yeah.
I just would be very unlikely to try to do something bottom. So people say, BSJ, what do I do when my carries keep fucking TPing back to the top lane? Like, they're garbage. You know, I'm in my 1K bracket and my carry just goes back to top. Well, is it better for you to try to get something done on the map without your strongest hero, or to play around your strongest hero?
Right, so I can just AFK over there is what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that if you make a play right now, it should be to your sniper. Like, so if you're going to make a play, it should be with your sniper. I'm saying if you think the best option is for you to go push mid with a TP ready for top, great, you know, that's fine. But I don't think anything beneficial is going to happen from you trying to do something when your sniper TP top. Like, that's just not
I should have
gonna work.
Just kept my TP for the sniper. But
yeah, I would either keep my TP for the sniper or sit behind the sniper. The like I'm saying, in this case, I think you keeping your TP for the sniper and staying where you are is fine. But in other cases, it might be best to just sit behind him. You know, it kind of
stay there. Okay.
Kind of just depends at that point. The major emphasis I'm making is the play needs to be around the sniper, because he put himself in a weird spot on the map and he's your most farmed hero. So notice how your Skywrath does go to him. And notice how, like, instead of helping this, you could have been pushing mid, but because you're not pushing mid, the Slardar goes mid, and now you can't be top to help top. Like, it's just, notice how because your strongest hero TP'd somewhere and then you try to make a play away from it, it's not that anyone's feeding right now, but isn't this super awkward for you? Aren't you like, what do I do now kind of situation? Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
notice
exactly
the
what.
net worth change between then and like when I talked about what's happened, right? You guys have just lost 2,000 net worth, right? Like advantage. It was like 3 or 4K before, and now it's barely 2K. So as a support, I like to ask myself what I want to be doing. So in this case, I'd probably be wanting to push bottom, but I would say, oh, well, my strongest hero just TP top, so I guess that's not happening. You know, we'll let these cores operate on their own time. You know, like they're 1K, so almost 2K, so they're probably not going to make very efficient plays on the map. I'd be sitting behind my core here, and right, like even if it's inefficient, you're doing something wrong efficiently rather than doing a bunch of different things inefficiently. You know what I'm saying? Like bottom's kind of the right play. But because Sniper TP top, you're doing two separate things half-ass rather than committing to a kind of mediocre play. Like, which I think committing to the mediocre play is better. Like, that's what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Usually
So,
bad
basically,
TPs... Oh, go ahead.
I'm thinking of it. You said basically Sniper is the biggest investment of the team. Right?
Yeah.
So we should protect him.
Sniper isn't a Slark. He's not a PL. Like, these type of heroes that, like, are self-sufficiently gonna survive are heroes that you can tend to play away from. But, like, you can't play away from a Sniper. Like, you actually just can't, right? Like, actually. He's just gonna do
I
it.
should have been there.
It doesn't matter how farmed the Sniper is. If you play away from him and he's alone, guess how many times he's gonna die? It's a lot, right? Like, he's already died twice. Like, if that's a level 10 Slark to a level 7 Legion... I mean, unless the Slark's literally an idiot, which is possible, he should never die, right? But a level 10 Sniper can be killed by 3 heroes no matter how farmed he is, period. Like, it just doesn't matter. So in those types of heroes, I will play around them. Viper's one of those heroes. Sniper. Well, usually it's like immobile ranged heroes or like immobile tanky heroes.
Without any escape.
Yeah, exactly. And like if they have their team behind them, they're really strong. But if they're alone, they just die. Like you can kind of think of the heroes that fit that description.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay, so here we go. Taking a fight. The whole 4K net worth advantage has already been lost for the most part due to what has happened. For the people watching, stop fucking TPing to your own safe lane as squishy heroes. Thank you. Like, Sniper's kind of ruining the game, but I think it would have been ruined a lot less if you played with him. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So as a support, that's your impact here. In this case, if my cores are playing like this, so like I told you, what that means is you guys pretty much can't get any objectives. That's what that means, right? If your core keeps TPing to the own safe lane, they can't get any objectives. So if I'm playing support, I'm just going to try to maximize my farm and always hold a TP to react to the guy that I need to protect top, right? Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let him ruin my game, meaning, like, I'm still going to try to be efficient, but I'm going to try to accept that I also can't do anything. Does that make sense? Like, maybe I'll even consider, hitting some jungle creeps if there's no lane to farm and my Sniper isn't in a need of immediate protection. But I'm always in the mindset that if Sniper's the hero I need to play around, I always try to ask myself what hero I want to play around. If he's the hero I need to play around and he's in a shitty part of the map, I'll at least hold a TP to help him. Like, that's at least what I'm going to do. That's where my TP will be going to, right? If I'm going to TP somewhere. So that's really cool at this stage in the game. If you can try to start establishing for yourself, if I'm going to TP, where is it? This applies for cores as well, like, carries while they're farming. Because in this case, because the Sniper TP to a place that sucks, all your team can really do is farm. So you're kind of in the mindset of a core right now, where you're just kind of farming because nothing's happening, which is going to happen a lot to supports at your bracket, right? Like, because the cores are just not going to do anything. So these types of moments, it's really great to say, okay, I'm going to try to be efficient. Where would I go if I had to go somewhere? And then, just be efficient as much as you can, getting your own farm and stuff, and then be ready to go there. And what I'm saying is that will prevent you from, like, panic reacting TP to bottom and stuff that you did earlier, right? You're like, oh shit, one of my teammates is getting gone on. That's what this is attempting to make sure you don't do anymore, is this part. So, Your sniper just loves the top lane. You can feel free to link him the dead lane video because he does not know what it is.
I doubt he will.
Okay, I'm going to make a public service announcement to people in Twitch chat. Excuse me for a second. This happens in my bracket. This is like 7K, 8K players that do this. How many times do I have to watch replays where the guy just dies in his safe lane? Every single death is in his safe lane. Every single time. How many times do I have to watch this before people just stop? Like, why? I actually don't get it. It's so mind-boggling to me. Like, people, I'm telling you right now, this is my public service announcement. People in my fucking bracket do this shit. How many times? It's like, how many times have people watched my coaching sessions and seen a guy die in a bad way, bottom? 0. How many times have we seen it, top? Thousands. I'm like, I actually can't believe it. It is insane. But overall, as a support, back to the coaching session, your job is to think about the fact, okay, I know this guy is making it so he's not doing anything. He's also in danger. Maybe you could have actually won this game if you prevented his first death, right? Like, because as a hero like Sniper, once he dies once, he's more and more likely to continue dying again, just because of the nature of the hero. So that's where your impact comes in. And it's really important to realize that your cores are doing stupid shit, but it's also nice to know why it's stupid so that you can react in the most effective way possible. So right now, oh, you guys are actually chasing this Wind Ranger. Okay.
But then he wakes it up from behind.
What I see is 2 heroes dead, and on both sides, and they showed all their heroes top. I personally would have just shoved mid. That's what I would have done, and I think good players, like, I think the Slardar should have shoved mid with you guys, and what you're doing is, because you guys are strong if Slardar is picking them off, rather than running at the 3 heroes, I would have forced one of them to come mid, and then either run at them top or kill the guy mid. That's like what I'm doing. I'm forcing them to separate. I think as a support, if your core is going to do what he's doing, you should probably follow him, but maybe make the call after you get these 2 kills to, like, shove mid. That's what I would have tried to do. And that's all you can do as support, right? It's kind of similar to, like, the polling. You can tell your team, hey, we should do this, or I'm doing this. And if they just don't, then that's life.
Yeah.
Okay. Really emphasizing, like, shoving lanes as much as possible when you guys get kills. Immediately think about if there's a lane you can push, because even as a support, I think if you're going to pick heroes like ET that can do it, making use of your influence on the game through shoving lanes is really good. So decisions become much easier for you in every role if the lanes are pushed into their towers. Like that is just Dota. Okay, so I would probably have been holding a smoke. I definitely would have a wand this game, like in general at this stage, just because they have a lot of little abilities to throw in fights, and I just think it's a travesty to not have a wand on supports that are fighting a lot. I also think that the reason why I'm telling you to have a smoke is that you have Slardar and Skywrath. You just have very clear heroes that do stuff. So sometimes you'll think, oh, I want to do this. But the reason why smokes, okay, the way that a good player comes to the conclusion that they need to smoke is, oh, I want to do this. Like, say, hey, like, you got the 2 kills on Silencer in Legion or whatever, or whatever it was, Silencer Viper, and you're like, I want to do this. But they might have a ward there. Boom, smoke. Like, that's why you smoke, right? Like, I want to do something. Oh, I'm afraid they might see it, and that would ruin it. And then that's why you smoke. That's actually the easiest conclusion you can ever come to in terms of smoking. It's like, oh, that's why I'm going to try to smoke here. But because you have heroes that very naturally kill people, I would always hold a smoke in case you get that feeling. You're like, oh, I want to go here, let's run there. And you'll do it. You'll run there faster, you may catch them off guard, that kind of stuff. So I definitely think it's...
So
go ahead.
Whenever I'm in a game with, like, gankers like Slardar and Slark, maybe, smoke should be the default.
Oh, absolutely. It's just another situation where, like, if you're holding your TP for the sniper top, for instance, you're just...
I hold the smoke too.
You're just giving yourself more opportunities to do the right thing when it happens, right? Or, like, when it's supposed to happen. That's what the smoke is. Maybe that smoke will sit in your inventory for 15 minutes, right? Like maybe you will just never see a time to use it. But there are so many games in my bracket even where I'm like, God, we would have just won this game if we smoked right here. Like, and my support just didn't have it. And it's like, 80 gold in their backpack that is costing us the game. It's like, oh. There's just some times where it can be a game-winning play. So, once again, all we're trying to do is maximizing the chance for good things to happen. That's all we're trying to do. At the end of the day, sometimes you'll be playing the map perfectly, you'll be doing everything right, and things will just still fall apart. And when that happens, I usually think to myself, well, if it ain't gonna work when I played it perfectly, that's life. Like that just sucks. But sometimes that's all you can do is, that's why even 10K players don't win every game. Okay, so at this point, we have talked a lot. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the coaching session. It's been a little over an hour and a half. But I would usually go more than one game, but I think we talked a lot during this game. I'm not just immediately...
Oh, yeah, time flies.
Yeah, I'm not just going to immediately cut us off. Is there any, other questions you have that we're not... Like you came into this session maybe thinking you would learn that didn't happen?
I mean, I think you covered... items were most important for me, but you showed me a whole new world with all these decisions where protect the sniper or whatever and stuff like that.
So we originally talked about items. So in this case, to really quick talk about items, you bought a Glimmer Cape first item. They're not really all that much magic damage. I would have probably considered an item that makes your team more aggressive.
The Glimmer was for the sniper, basically.
Yeah, I understand. So at this point, I think you'll realize it wasn't your item that was the way to fix this sniper, right? It was the way you played around him. So that's important. No item matters if you're not playing around this guy properly because he's just feeding anyway. I would have built probably drums this game if he didn't on Slardar. Yeah, he didn't, because Slardar and Sniper are both cores that heavily rely on attack speed and they both walk at people. So that's when drums is great, right? Heroes that rely on attack speed and walking at people. Drums is less good if you have a Faceless Void because he can time walk on top of people. So he does utilize the attack speed, so maybe you still buy it sometimes, but it's better with cores like Slardar and Sniper. I probably would have gone drums for the mid-game aggression for my team, and then at that point, I would have considered maybe a defensive item. So I would have considered Halberd being decent if you're rich, if you're having a really good game, because they have Void, Wind Ranger, and Legion. Even Viper's worth halberding. I would have even considered... Go ahead.
If it's legit for ET to get halberd.
Yeah, I mean, I think halberd's a really good item right now. So it's as a support, if you're rich enough to buy it, it's good. I just think Vlad's and stuff, the sustain from that, what that would give you is Roche. So if you're gonna buy Vlad's, I would do it because you're gonna get Roche this game. So I'm saying against their specific heroes, I don't think Vlad's is that great, but it does allow your team to do Roche. So if you're wanting to get a Vlad's this game, it would be because of that.
Against the team, what do you mean? I mean, it's not more about who we play with.
What I'm saying is if they have purely physical damage and a lot of poke damage, I think Vlad's and sustain is usually better. The other team is kind of just a mix of magic and physical, and they're kind of just a heavy commitment lineup that either kills you full to zero or not. Do you see that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So that's why when I say Vlad's is not that great against the opponent, Vlad's is a sustain. Yeah, the 3 armor matters, but it's more about the sustain for long fights and stuff. So this is a game where the fights will not be long. Yeah, both teams will that's why drums is nice, because it's a nice burst of power, right? For a nice quick fight. And halberd is preventing someone on your team from dying immediately in chrono. I would even say if I were in an ideal game, meaning that I was having a pretty good game as ET here, I'd probably go drums, halberd, solar. That's probably what I would do. Drums, halberd, solar here, because solar is really good against their lineup just because they're gonna go on one guy, so you buff up your teammate that gets gone on, and both of your cores, the sniper and the Slardar, heavily benefit from the armor and attack speed. So
Yeah.
That's what I would have gone, would be drums, halberd, solar. So, and then late game, even consider like a BKB for myself, like just so I can be real strong too.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, how about the agony instead of the
Oh yeah,
BKB?
yeah, it's up to you. I don't know enough about ET to be honest with you. So if you think like
Alright.
if I'm saying to go BKB for the sake of being like
Yeah, it's
strong
the
and running
same.
in, and
Okay.
you think Ags is better, then do it. Like for the same reason, right?
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's really fun with that. Yeah.
Awesome. Any more questions before we wrap it up, dude?
No, thank you very much, sir.
Right on, man. I enjoyed working with you, and best of luck getting better at Dota, man.
Yeah, I gain a lot from you. Thank you. Maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah, let me know. Make sure my only thing is if you're gonna do another one, just make sure the stuff that you've done now is taken care of. Like the stuff we talked about in this session has gotten better, so that the next time around when I talk about, I said the first step is for you to buy items. Now we'll talk about making sure you buy the right items. That next time around, I want to make sure you're always buying items so that we can then have the discussion about the next step.
Oh yeah,
So-
I will work on all of that.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I trust you will. So have a good one, man. I'll talk. I'll
Yeah,
see you later.
thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that was a good session. That guy was a nice guy to work with. I don't know. For whatever reason, like, I don't blame people or whatever, but some students are just really easy to work with. He was like really easy to work with.